My name is Sam Caiucci, and I'm the founder and the CEO of One Huddle. And before I get started, I want to start with a question, and it's, how much longer can you stand me talking like that? How many of you had a negative thought in your head? Nobody was moving for the door yet? Okay. Same thing goes for a customer when they sit through a bad service experience from an employee that's not prepared. Today, the workforce is different. We've never seen 5 different generations at work at the same time. And when we think about where work is going, I talk to CEOs across the globe about their biggest challenges today. And we hear 3 big challenges at One Huddle when we talk to CEOs. First is, how do we find great talent? Second is, how do we onboard them as fast as possible and consistently develop them over time? And third, how do we keep them engaged and excited at work? It's that excitement thing that is getting harder and harder. I've heard a few talks already today talking about it. Nearly a third of an employee's time at work is spent doing things other than work while on the job and on the clock. Think about that. And when we talk to CEOs, it couldn't happen at a worse time. Nearly 73% of CEOs agree their number one challenge today are hiring employees and having them ready to work on day one when they get in on the job. And if anybody here has heard of the M word, are you tired of hearing the M word by now? Millennial? Well, get ready for Gen Z, because 55% of the global workforce will be Gen Z or millennial by 2020. And as we look at this unique group, we have to think about what are the tools that we're using to consistently upskill them. Not just onboard them as fast as possible, but continue to develop this group over time. But again, when we think about work today, and we think about our workforce, we have to understand that some of the biggest challenges that we have relate to onboarding and upskilling. 87% of things employees learn in the classroom they forget within 30 days, and 91% of the tools that we're using today to onboard and upskill people continue to be around learning management systems, manuals, or live stand and deliver training sessions. So when we sit here at a workshop like this or a conference or symposium, we think about how do we use technology to speed up the rate at which employees are ready? How do we use technology at a time when automation and robots and AI are potentially going to disrupt the jobs that we perform every single day? It's said that the majority of workers are going to have nearly a third of their work disappear within the next 10 years. And back in the US, it still blows my mind that only 1% of our learning stack is available mobile first, especially at a time when employees are on the go. They're agreeing with me back there. So as we shift gears, I always think about this. What are the technologies that we can use today that employees are already good at? Like, what would be something, if we were to all brainstorm right now, what's something that employees today like to do, makes them competitive? Well, you're all in the room for a reason, and that's games. 10,000 hours of gameplay by an average millennial have before they're 21 years old. And I was a former strength conditioning coach back in the US, so I talk about this all the time. We have a generation of workers today that are experts at games. 9 in 10 say they're better than a coworker, and the majority of them say they literally see life as a game. So if we look through this lens of games, how do we leverage this type of technology? And again, coming back to my main point, to onboard employees faster, knowing that today jobs are going to change and the activities and tasks that make up work is going to change faster than the technology is able to respond. How do we continue to develop employees for the jobs that we're not even sure are going to be here yet? Because depending on what LinkedIn article everybody here reads every day, some say robots are going to take everybody's jobs, some say they're not. I don't know whether they're going to do what they're going to do, but I do know work is shifting and work is changing, and we need to build technology to respond in real time to it. As we look at what the employee model looks like, I just want to share a quick slide. This is not earth-shattering, but it is an employee model that we think about every day when we think about developing talent. Employees today have to have 3 core areas that they have to be proficient in: knowledge, skill, and they have to be motivated. When we look at knowledge, we think about knowledge is knowing what to do on the job. We hire a new hire, we hand them that 400-page manual, we expect them to read it, or we expect them to watch the online learning videos on our LMS. Doesn't matter if they're a 3-minute micro-learning video or they're a 100-minute video, we have to get through it. One is knowing what to do. Number 2 is knowing how to do it from a skill perspective. Third is having the motivation to do it. So one of the biggest challenges we talk about today is you might have an employee that knows what to do and how to do it, but if they don't want to do it, does it matter that they even know what their job is every day? Leading this forward, we think about games. I'm just going to give some people, so you can take out your pens and your pencils, I'm going to give you 3 quick takeaways that we've learned in my 10-minute session that you can take away. The best games in the world have 3 things in common. First, they have a level of strategy. Now, gamification is an overused term. Some people in this room are probably tired of hearing it. I think there's a major difference between gamifying something and using a game mechanic or thinking of the world or your business as a game. There is a difference. 3 core mechanics are a part of a game. First, you have a level of strategy, which means the user or the employee has some level of control over the outcome. Anybody ever play a game that was stacked against them? Some level of control over the outcome. Number 2 is difficulty. Anybody here ever played a game that was too easy? You probably checked out. You ever played a game that was too hard? You probably checked out as well. The best games have a proper balance of difficulty. And I would argue that for the people in the room that really dive into the way learning works, we know that difficulty and struggle are critical anchors to the learning process and developing skill. Third part, so we think about we have strategy. Second part, we have some level of difficulty. Third, there's an achievement. So the best games build a currency model where as you play, you accrue something. That accrual you can then use in the future. At One Huddle, we work with over 100 brands across the US who today, I have found, they struggle most at this third part. How do we use rewards and recognition to incent and excite people? So those 3 anchors have to be present. When I think about games and how they apply to this pyramid, to this model, the best games, again, are using some level of strategy. A takeaway for some of the folks to think about, how do we implement strategy? Businesses today struggle with over-scorecarding and over-one-on-oneing employees. Every brand likes to think about the fact that when they hire a frontline employee, they could eventually be a CEO, but most don't deliver on that promise. Thinking about the best mechanics in a game, like a level. We see brands today that are taking their career pathway for employees, and when you're hired on day 1, right out of college, you're at level 1, the CEO is level 10. And they guide them through that pathway. There was a talk this morning that was really great right out of the gate talking about, do managers go away? Well, I know a lot of brands who've embraced that model, but they have well-structured processes in place. Instead of thinking of it as quarterly reviews, think about it as the opportunity to level up. On the second part, with difficulty, struggle is not just a best practice, it's biologically required to the learning process. Research shows if you test people on content before they know it, over the long haul, it leads to longer lasting retention. Nobody here would get in a plane with a pilot that just read the manual. Right? Maybe some will, I don't know. Okay? Struggle is critical to the learning process. Games provide us a powerful opportunity to lean into that. Think about another example in your day-to-day life where as you fail, you come back for more. I mean, for me, hiring a lot of salespeople over the years, I love employees that lean into that competition. Games provide us an opportunity to do that. 3, rewards and recognition. Again, the best games have a level of reward and recognition. I would argue, as you think about how you're incentivizing employees, how are you budgeting for rewards and recognition? Games provide a powerful opportunity to do that, whether that's badging, trophies, or other achievements. The biggest brands we work with have 5 categories of rewards that they incent using game platforms. It's either cash, which is pretty good. Second is gift cards. Third is experiences. We work with a brand called ESPN, where the top player on their game platform every Friday gets a dinner out with the COO or some C-level executive. Something that doesn't even cost them that much internally. Fourth is swag or gear or stuff that you have on your brand. And 5th is some level of recognition. A social media shout-out probably doesn't cost you that much. As we think about the brands of the future, we have to think about how they're using technology to voluntarily motivate people to take action, not just do it because they're told to do it. Games have been used for a long time. Today, we see the United Nations that uses games to help kids in third world countries lean into ways to deliver better impact? Or what about militaries across the globe that have been using games and simulations for decades to prepare soldiers for battle? This is the star of the show. This is my daughter, Nico, who we play a lot of games together. When I think about talks like this, and I come to conferences like this, and this has been, there's some awesome brands out there in the exhibit hall. But when I come to shows like this, I really think about, with Nico, what type of job is she going to have? What type of leaders are going to lead? What type of technology is she going to embrace? What will work look like? You are the leaders in the room. So to steal from a gaming term, it's your move. Thank you.